So when you take a look at this first image, you're trying to analyze it aside from the little character that he has placed up onto the top there. And you could use, it's trying to again use the basic shape tools. If I go into the polygon, for example, I can create the 8-sided shape, shift key to keep it straight. But once I have that set up, I'll just go ahead and give it a fill without the stroke without the fill. Once I do this, it looks like it will work, but then when I extend it, I lose kind of contact with all the pieces that are about it. So try to think of another way other than trying to just draw half of this if it's either rounded or straight. So I'm going to try it with the rounded rectangle tool, and using the arrow keys again gives you the thickness or length to this part. So what happens is that now up on the control panel, if you have this listed under control, gives you this highlighted area up here, and there's a section that gives you rounded, gives you the inversion of it, and it also gives you a straight line. So whether this is straight or curved, I'll try it with a straight one first and just place it into this image. Again, with the fill, I'll just take that off and see if I can't condense it down a little bit. So it's not perfectly accurate, but when you grab the widget part that's on the inside, you can make it a little bit smaller, and that's kind of the shape that you have right there. Okay, so just kind of keep that close, not too close. So just turning that off, and then saying, okay, maybe this is the elliptical shape, but I'll still use the rounded rectangle so I have more control over the outside edges. And here I can build that piece up and give that a section. So now just to show it to you with the color so it's a little bit easier to see, I'm going to select the two of them, and I have the align tool already set up, line palette, so I can go with vertical and horizontal together to make that shape. Why the green shape is on top of, just kind of drag it over here so you can see it's overlapping. Just select the both of them, and with the Pathfinder tool, the second item over is just going to allow me to punch that and make it into a hole, which is actually a compound path. Okay, so that's a quick, easy way to do that one. When I take a look at the next part, trying to look at the easier parts first, is just using, again, the pen tool or the line segment. I'm going to try to mix them up here. So I'm using the line segment tool to make the top part of this, and I'll leave it overlap itself. And then I'm going to take the pen tool and click midpoint into this curve, kind of set it, use the space bar if I need to, come to the outside edge, and overlapping this is good. Command changes it to the selection tool, so now I can deselect that part. With this part, I'm just going to reflect it and just hold the option to click, and again this palette shows up where I can preview this and just copy it across. So now I have most of this built up. I'm just going to select all three of these strokes and click inside here and just use the arrow key to go ahead and make that thickness to it, so it makes it a little bit easier to see. Rather than try to do the outline and make it this, it gives me the symmetrical side on both sides. To make it a shape, I just have to go to the object path and outline the stroke. It loses the fill is all switched over, so when I come across now I can see it a little easier. This has a slant to it on either side, so I'm going to take another tool. When I click inside the scale tool, there's the reshape tool. I'll leave this open, which it already is, and just go ahead and grab it right here. This, when you click on it, you can see it jumps around a little bit. If I hold the shift key down, it stays a little bit straight, so I can turn it to that angle. And that's what that piece looks like for that section. So I'll just take that off. These are all the same thicknesses, so I'm going pretty good so far. So I can set this across this section here. Okay. If you feel it needs to adjust it, you can place it right off the top. So now with these shapes, I can start to use the shape builder, and I'll give all of these a light color just so you can see as they're overlapping. This one I'm just going to option and send it to the back, so now I have these two pieces. Okay. Down below it gets cut off, but we'll come back to that section. So this letter on the other side is the letter C is going to be a little trickier. So I'm going to click again to the outside and start the curve, hold the shift key down, try to find the midpoint, and come about the middle, the distance there, so it's showing that crease right there. Take off the fill, and just again with the stroke, and go back to the thickness of this. And if I remembered what the thickness was, I could actually keep it the same, but I'm just going to multiply it this way. And you can switch this over. Again, I'm going to make it the object path, outline the stroke. I'll give it a, swap it over so it's just that piece. I want to put it right at the midpoint, but I'm not sure where the midpoint is to put a ruler guide. But if I select this section here, when I drag this, I can see the midpoint right here. And that'll allow me to drag a ruler guide and line it up and use that as the point of reference for it. So now I can select this top piece, just moving it so you can see it, give it a color, and take the reflect tool and just option and click right on this guideline. And you'll see it rotates across, but I want it to go horizontally. So I'll click copy on that one. And you can see it overlaps itself together. So I'm just going to shift these together so they're both selected and use the shape builder. And I could have made this much straighter, but I think I went off a little bit. So that makes that piece connect to this one. I can zoom in, and if I hold the option key, the overlapping section is going to come off of that. And if I wanted this to be a curve point, I can click on it, and up at the top it has the idea of what shape that point is, so I can do it from there. Or the pen tool has the convert anchor point tool, which allows me to click and drag with the shift key to curve that off a little bit. So I could do it that or just leave it as it was. And now it's just a matter of trying to piece the rest of this together as he has it connected. So I'm going to select all these items and take off the fill. You can see the fill and the stroke are questions because it has more than one selected. So now when I highlight this, these pieces, these three, you can see it's connected. I'm just going to connect these two, so I'll give this a color so you can see it. There's the shape builder, so now I'm just building this part together. And now I'm going to select this one, I'll give it a color. Now select these two and use the shape builder to take away or add what needs to be connected. So that's connected to that. This is on its own shape. And there's a little piece right here with the option is going to delete it. And back that up. So now I have this cut out with two pieces there. There's a couple points there I'll take off. So to do that, I'm just going to go to Object and hide that selection. And just select those 2 points and bring that back. Go Object, Show All. Now when I show all the other parts of the logo are going to come back to me. So I can select this and hide that selection for it. Okay. Okay. So now that I have these sections, all I have to do now is take a look at the bottom of this and trim this off so they're selected. I'm going to take a rectangle tool and just clip it right from here. Not on your screen.